All right, look alive, everybody. We've got Congressman to be Anthony Tolder on the line calling in today. He'll be, well, we've already, the call is disengaged, the call dropped. One of the things we were trying to work on, trying to get that back up. We did have him a few moments ago. All right, here we go. Anthony Tolder, everybody. Anthony Tolder is going to be talking about, I'll let him tell you about his congressional bid. He was with us during the Columbia CIA sedition and treason trial, and with throughout the entire process. Tolder, how you doing?
I'm just terrific. Thanks for asking. How are you, Reverend Manning?
Terrific, huh? That's an unusual expression, but I'm glad to know that you are. That means that you're doing extremely well. You're doing way above normal. I'm doing fine. I'm doing fat and middling. That's what my daddy used to say, fat and middling. I don't know what he meant by that. He could be better, but no.
Okay.
So, Tolder, you listen. Now, you told me you've been down to Zuccotti Park. Is that right?
Yes. I thought that maybe I could learn a little bit about why these people are out there and what their goals are, and hopefully educate some people on the economy and why free market capitalism, getting back to the Constitution, is what they really should be demanding.
Well, what did you find out?
I found out a lot of people are open to learning, and that's definitely a very good thing. And some people are just set in their ways, and they don't listen as much. And the group has no leaders, so they have to come to a consensus on all their decisions. And it's just, I think the key is education. If you're somebody that's a free market capitalist and you believe in the Constitution, you should try to get down there and have an influence on the people. And I notice a lot of people are doing that, which is good to see.
I went down a couple of weeks ago now, and when they found out I was a birther, they gave me a hard time. They tried to put me out. One guy said, "We'll put you out of this park," and I looked at him and asked him, "You in what army?" But I stayed anyway because I understand what they're trying to accomplish with the what I'm considering or looking at in terms of capital cronyism and the failure of our government to protect, I think, people who are servants to this government and taxpayers as well. But you're right; everybody ought to go down and try to get a sense of what's happening there.
Sure. And I went down there. It was early morning on the 16th, so it was about 24 hours after they had gotten thrown out of the park with all the tents and everything. And on the way there, as I was walking from my car, I noticed there was a march going on. It wasn't a whole lot of protesters, and it was almost a 1-to-1 ratio of cops to protesters. They wound up at City Hall over there, and this woman was saying how she was arrested, and when she was in the in the cell and she was changing, there was a male officer that walked by, and it's against the protocol. They're not supposed to do that. And another officer reprimanded him. But she said that these types of things would keep going on, and these women are either changing or being searched while they're undressed or using the facilities, and what people could see. And you have male officers walking down, so they were at the city hall, and the cops were all standing in front of them, and they kept asking the cops, is anybody looking into this? Are you going to assure us that this is going to stop and that this isn't going to go on anymore? And it was just silence. The cops would not say a word. So in the middle of this woman and another woman arguing, I started addressing the cops. I said, you know what, you guys swore an oath to uphold the Constitution and defend it from all enemies, both foreign and domestic. And then the bickering went on between these two women, and a guy walked up to me and he goes, you should continue what you were saying. You should get into that more when you feel the time is right. So when I felt the time was right, I said there's a group called Oath Keepers. And if your oath means anything to you, you should look at this because you can learn from them anonymously. You could join them anonymously, and they're a support group for police and military, current and veteran, and they have 10 unconstitutional orders they won't obey.
Told that the Occupy Wall Street movement, which is an international, global movement. I think was first labeled and continues to be so as a Marxist or communist-inspired, socialist-directed movement, and financed by George Soros. And I did hear Van Jones make some supportive statements and praising Occupy Wall Street, and Obama as well praising Occupy Wall Street. And then, of course, you've got the general anti-government people such as Sharpton and Jackson who praise it as well. But I think that there's an underlying statement here that may not necessarily support all of those claims, but people have been turned off because they suspect it's anti-capitalism and our free market system.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was people in ponchos that said SEIU all over them the night I was there. I was there a few nights, but the night I'm discussing with you now, just recently, the 16th, was actually the morning, somewhere between midnight and 3 in the morning, that these events went on, and they had the SEIU ponchos. Now, another thing that had happened was there was a retired captain from the Philadelphia Police Department, and he came and he said he was in support of the protesters' right to be there. And he was discussing the law, and he showed up in uniform, and he said, I don't think the cops like me being here, and I think they want to arrest me for impersonating a police officer. But he said, unless there's an action, they said that, if somebody says they're going to rob a bank, and you hear them, and they say they're going to get a gun and rob a bank, that just them saying that, they can't be arrested for it. But if they say that, and then you saw them go buy a gun in a store, then that's an action that goes along with the words that implies the intent to commit the crime. So they said, and then at that point, when they bought the gun, they could be arrested.
Well,
so eventually, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the Bloomberg's police department, Goon Squad, and I want to respect the police because I realize that we cannot live in a society where people are bent and given to committing crimes and causing bodily injury to people and other kinds of things as well. So definitely we need the police. There's no doubt about that. Unless we get outlawed, then we won't need any police. But the thing of it is that they have been arresting everybody. They've been arresting reporters. A number of reporters I've seen on television stated that they were trying to indicate that they were reporters. The police didn't care. They jacked them up and took them off to jail as well. So this seems to be a sort of Sing Sing goon squad that's down there now dealing with, as police officers.
Sure. I was getting strange looks as I was walking by, and nobody said anything to me, and things were pretty calm when I was there for the most part. But what I thought was strange was after this Philadelphia retired captain had left, and almost the exact situation he was describing happened right before our eyes. Right after he left, this strange man showed up, and he was passing out these flyers that were promoting a graphic image of a Molotov cocktail, and it was promoting these Molotov cocktails. They're very dangerous, and this is a peaceful protest by the large. But now you have this small fringe group, passing out this literature, and everybody there told the man, you shouldn't be passing that out. That's wrong. And that's not what this is about. And he kept saying it was just a joke in some strange accent. And then he used that Muslim greeting in Arabic that if you heard the Obama speech in Egypt...
Assalamu alaikum.
Right.
Assalamu alaikum, yeah.
Right. It rhymes with I hate lots of bacon.
Yeah.
Well, it's a little bit of a stretch at the rhyming, but...
Yeah, but I think what the Occupy movement needs... maybe they don't need a leader, and I think that they have one. But they certainly need a publicity person to help shape their message. In as much as that, you have a lot of people coming down, agitators who are coming down just to. And I would not be surprised if they were not agents of some government or institution trying to make the peaceful protesters look like they're a bunch of maniacs. I mean, you got pictures of people defecating and all kinds of weird things. But listen, Tolu, we only have a few moments left. Tell us about your bid to take the congressional seat out in eastern Long Island this time. This is your second go-around. Why don't you tell us about that?
Yes. Well, the first time I ran as a Constitution Party candidate, we do have fusion voting here in New York, so I can run with as many parties as I'd like to. So this time I will be running in the Republican primary. I do intend to have the Constitution Party nomination again. I intend to go after the Conservative Party nomination, and there's also a newer party called the 12 Visions Party and I have mixed feelings about some of what their platform is. But from what I understand, their ideas for the most part are okay. I think they need somebody to help them shape their platform a little bit better, and I'd like to work on that with them as well.
Well, I'm excited about the fact that you have that you've decided to run again. I was praying that you would rather, and so that was really good news to hear this morning. And I want to do, and Manning Report and all of us want to do as much as we possibly can to make this run a successful run. And I believe that it will be. I think this second time will certainly be your charm for you and get you down to Washington. And see,
well, I really need a... I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I really need a treasurer. I can't really get much done until I find a treasurer. And it's super important. I need someone with an accounting or bookkeeping background to step up and help me with this, because you could technically be your own treasurer, but if you get audited, it really doesn't reflect well on the candidate and the campaign.
All right, so you need someone. All right, then why don't we do this? Then you need someone who has bookkeeping skills, an accountant, and certainly if one has had some training in that area and degree, that would be all the better to help keep your finances organized, your contributions. And so if there's anybody out there that can do that, I mean, I know a couple of people, I don't know if they have the time to help you in your campaign, but I would suggest that anyone who wants to see this nation turn in the appropriate direction. Now, does that person have to live here in New York, or do they have to, what kind of qualifications beyond accounting experiences do they need?
They could be from out of state. Preferably, I would prefer somebody in the New York City or Long Island area. I would certainly consider somebody from out of state if they had the right background.
All right. Then I've got several interviews scheduled for today, and we got to get you back again early next week so you can talk about more of your platform, what you plan to do if elected to Congress, talk a little bit about your district as well, what's happening out there in the east end of Long Island, and what's the present congressperson doing. We need to go over that in detail, and I need to schedule more time for you to be able to talk to us about that. But if there's a treasurer out there, that the person who has skills and would want to work with Anthony Told, I would highly recommend it, because he certainly is the kind of a candidate we need to help put America back on the right track, to get us focused on the Constitution again and all of its strength. So why don't we do this, Tolder? Why don't we schedule you to be on again early next week?
That sounds good. And if I could just briefly address this Occupy Wall Street with the Molotov cocktail, there was a young man who was discussing it, and he got caught on YouTube, and there's a link on Facebook and on my Facebook page, Anthony Told and Anthony Told for Congress. This young man was arrested, but the man that was passing out the literature was a different man, and from what I understand, he has not been arrested. So just I'm asking that everybody just be alert, be careful, and if you see anybody with anything that looks like a Molotov cocktail, I would say, please try to make sure that it doesn't get used, because I want this protest to be peaceful, and enough people have been hurt. I just don't want to see anybody else be hurt.
Yeah, that's good advice, and for people to be on the lookout for that kind of a thing. They haven't had that kind of a physical violence or yet, but you never know where this is going to go. Today is a big day. We still haven't concluded today. They're supposed to be shutting down the Brooklyn Bridge. So the movement is still underfoot in a major way. But listen, Tola, thank you so very much for being our guest today. Sorry that we only had a few moments to share with you at this hour.
Oh, it's quite all right. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you, and God bless you, Tola. All right, everybody, we're going to take a bit of a break, and we're expecting to talk to Rose Colombo from down in California in just a few moments. As soon as she chimes in, we're going to bring her up as well. And don't forget, we've got Kevin Abrams, author of The Pink Swastika, in the second hour of the Manning Report. So